Hey fellow settlers, it's me, Mario. And today sit down because it's going to be a longer video than what you're used to from my most recent ones. Today I'm finally gonna share with you something that I kept in my back pocket for a long time. It's not really a secret anymore, but I was able to co-design with Alexander Pfister the expansion of Boonlake. Boonlake is a game I fell in love right at the start. I know it didn't know the same success as other Pfister's titles, but I really loved it. I was already 70 plays in when Alex asked me if I wanted to do some work on an expansion for it, and I was, of course, ecstatic. 70 plays seems like a lot, but I mean, it was still partly in the pandemic. I was playing a lot. This very good Boonlake mode on TTS, and I was playing also solo quite a bit because the solo is very fast. You can finish a game of solo in probably half an hour, 45 minutes at most of Boonlake, and for a game of this weight, that's pretty good. Also, my whole play group fell in love with the game. I know that again, online the community didn't really develop a lot like it did with, for example, Great Western Trail, Barrage, or other big games that I love. But I was able to have a group of fellow players here in my hometown, and we hammered this game a lot until we found some kind of ideas on its overall balance that I wanted to share with Alex. Now, my cooperation with Mr. Alex Pfister doesn't come out of the blue. It's been years that I posted on BGG about strategy for Great Western Trail. I've also reskinned the whole Blackout Hong Kong, which is another Pfister game you might not know. It's amazing, I love it. I think that it has a problem with the theme and with other stuff. I reskinned it, I designed a few asymmetric factions for it, and again, my play group loves it, so we kept playing and playing. I also sent my ideas on the balance of Maracaibo, and I helped I wouldn't say design because design would be a big word for that, but I sent some ideas that I had for cards and abilities for Maracaibo. They were appreciated. I also designed some Great Western Trail asymmetric factions. I don't know if I shared them on BGG or not. But anyway, I was of course ecstatic when Alex asked me if I wanted to do a co-design with him. It's pretty much a dream to be able to co-design with one of your favorite designers. So he asked me if I had some ideas because again I was 70 plays in. I was like, my take on the game was really fresh, and I wanted to start somewhere. And once again, brainstorming with Alex, we came up with a few points that I knew that I wanted to improve on because of the feedback that I got on BGG. And these points were basically 4+1, I would say. The first one is the theme. I think that a lot of people didn't find that the theme of Boonlake resonated with them. It's kind of a bland theme, like you're a pioneer in a new area. It's a new area ripe for conquering, not conquering really, just it's full of resources you can exploit in some way. It's just a theme that works a lot of the time, but here feels a bit bland because there is no historic background to it. There is no intent in the rulebook to explore it a bit more. You just see a lot of cables on the player's boards, for example, and you really don't know why they are there because it seems like it's happening nowadays. Like there are buildings, there are stuff. It doesn't feel like anything futuristic. It doesn't feel like anything sci-fi. So why all these cables or these weird techie stuff? So the theme was the first point that I wanted to explore a bit more. Also, I'm trying to change a bit the OBS settings today, so hopefully it will go smoother than the last few times that I tried to record myself. The second thing was that I wanted more incentives to run. I know that the game is at its best when you run, and I know, having played 70 times plus, now it's of course over 100, probably over 200. I stopped counting and at 100 games, and I know that trying to move 4 steps at a time is the way to win in Boonlake. I made a video about it, but I know a lot of people don't, and I wanted to give them more incentives to try and explore this running, rushing dimension that is there in this game, as it is in many other Feasters games. So, incentives to run. Then, trying to make the objective tiles more relevant. The objective tiles are the scoring tiles. Let's just click on start the game, change my color. Let's be yellow. Let's play a solo game, shall we? Alright. So, these are the objective tiles. You can make them bigger, of course. They have 2 parts. One part is like a card that you can play at any time that gives you a lot of points but costs a lot. And the second half is, I would say, the more important one, is a scoring tile that you can use whenever you want. The game is divided in basically 4 rounds, even though it says 2 rounds. There are 2 rounds and 2 half rounds. Let's just call them 4 rounds. And at the end of each round, you have to choose one of the tiles, and you have to fulfill it. If you don't, you're going to lose points. If you do, you get points. Players were lamenting a bit that these tiles were not that relevant. I think that's partly because they were moving slower than I was, but also because it seems like they didn't give you that many points. So it's another thing that I really wanted to improve balance-wise. Another thing that design-wise I felt was underexplored were the vases. The vases are an important resource in Boonlake, actually, but it doesn't seem like they are well woven with the other mechanics of the game. Like, yeah, they're a cost. You can get them in some places. You can spend them in some other places, but you don't really get why you can use vases, right? So I wanted to improve the theme around vases, as we're going to see. Basically, solving the theme was also something that revolved around vases in some way. And the last point, the 5th one, so theme, incentives to run, objective tiles, vases. The 5th one is just variety. I mean, it's something that you're trying to strive for in every expansion game, as far as I know. And in Boonlake, a feedback that I got from other players on BGG posting was that in Boonlake there are a lot of cards, but some of them felt really similar to each other, so you didn't feel like you were really exploring a lot, maybe. So we wanted a bit more variety, and we wanted to add more cards to the game. So, starting from the theme, once again, I really wanted to make this tech stuff, this sci-fi dimension of it, maybe emerge a bit more. So, what we came up was lost tech. So, you're coming in an area and there's lost tech there. You're discovering it one step at a time while you're having your cows graze the fields, building your cities, building your villages. You're also getting pieces of old and powerful tech. This is something that I really wanted in a game because I felt it was pretty good with the theme, and Alex totally agreed with it, but I think that I had a wrong idea at the start. I really wanted to make the vases some kind of nuclear batteries, and I wanted players to be able to build some kind of power plant and use nuclear power. This theme had some problems. The biggest one is that, nuclear energy is risky. It's risky in general, it's very risky in the real world, but it's also a theme that it can be kind of controversial. I can see both sides of it. I can see wanted more energy, and I can see wanted it clean. So nuclear power right now is not really clean. Maybe if we find the holy cow of the fusion, nuclear fusion, maybe. But for now, no. So we actually changed a bit from that, and we had a great input from both Marcus, who's a developer, I would say, working along with me and Alex, and from Clemens, the guy who's behind all these illustrations. I'm pretty sure you already know him from Agricola and from other great Euro games. And actually, at the end, we resorted to using these vases as batteries, which is fine. No nuclear power though, it's just lost tech. It's you don't really know how they work, but they work pretty well. They work pretty well. And you're going to retrieve it thanks to cranes that unveil them from the surface of the river. So, as we're going to see, a mechanic about it is about using this crane to get pieces of lost tech and use them. All of it led me personally, because it's something that I love in a lot of games, like Grandmaster Trade is an exception, but normally I like asymmetry in games. I like exploring games without it maybe, but Terra Mystica, Barrage, they all implement asymmetric factions in a very good way, and I knew that Boonlake could support some kind of asymmetric factions. I mean, I made them for Blackout Hong Kong, why not for Boonlake? So you actually get some powers that are pieces of lost tech that work along with vases. So basically they are powers that you unlock thanks to putting vases on them. Like this is a power, for example. Of course the final graphics are going to be way better. I don't know if I'm supposed to show them to you, so we'll see. This is not a final version, by the way. This is a version of the game I showed to you because I think that I can. So hopefully the publisher won't be mad at me after this video. You basically connect vases and you unlock powers. There are always 2 powers that you can unlock, and you get better at doing things. Sometimes you get crazy powers. Also, a thing that Alex wanted that I agreed with is that starting with an asymmetric faction can work. Of course, it works really well in other games, but in this game in particular, it could also work as something you get during the game. So actually, what we finally came up with is that you have an extra structure, which is not showed here because it got lost. It's this one. It's of course going to look way better. It's like a small crane or a small kind of building that acts like a crane. I think it's a small building, like a wharf, that use a crane to get stuff from the river. So you build it when you can place a guy on the board, so when you can develop. And from that point on, you immediately choose one of these tiles, and that is going to be your power for the whole game. Now it's up to you to activate it, of course, and it's up to you to use it properly, but then you get this kind of power. It's pretty cool. I think a lot of players will like it a lot. There is a run to them because the first one can pick the right one, but as we're going to see, there are some knobs around that make some powers more attractive or less attractive in a game. Because before, that's the final step that we introduced in the game, before the game starts, powers are going to be chosen at random in, I bet it's the number of players plus 1 tiles are going to get revealed. These are all going to be sides tiles. They are going to be sorted out, they are going to dealt close to the board, and then players will be given some kind of markers that indicate a cost, and in a snake-like draft they can place them on the different tiles, so that when you first choose to put the wharf on the board, you also need to pay the price of the tile you chose as your own power. So there is that. And you activate them with vases, and they get easier to activate the more you go along the game. Basically, vases are going to be placed on them in each interim scoring. This is like the core part of the expansion for both me and Alex. It's very big. It required a lot of playtesting. We're still not really sure that everything is balanced, of course, because that's always the problem with asymmetry. But we really think that the exciting part of them is more important than just having them perfectly balanced. Of course, balance is very important. You know me. I'm a balance sucker. But they should be really exciting, like the powers will be really exciting. Then, after the theme and the vases, basically you covered 2 of the 5+1 bullets, 4+1 bullet points at once. The second one was an incentive to run more. So I started with something really simple. Each time that you move 4 steps, you gain 1 coin. That is really easy, but that can be quite a bit of coins during the game. And it should be a nudge towards moving faster. I don't want to force people to move faster. Alex didn't want either. Alex really liked the strips, of course. He came up with this very cool mechanic. And he really wanted players to feel entitled. They could choose to move 3 or even 2 steps at some points. But in general, I wanted more incentives to make people run a bit faster. So the first one was giving 1 coin straight up to people moving 4 steps. The second thing we came up with was just, it's something that I actually implemented after having tried another very good game from Suki, which is Praga Caput Regni. And it was just about placing coins on the tiles that are on the 4 steps and are not taken. Like, the more a tile stays on the top 2 spots, the more coins it's going to accumulate until somebody takes it and takes all the coins with it. This worked pretty well too, but it felt a bit bland. We wanted more. We really wanted more. So we thought, why not, instead of taking coins when you move 4 steps, why not moving on a track? At first we wanted something similar to the coins and the card tracks, something that gave you income in the entering scoring, but then Marcus had this really cool idea. What if we make a dropout track? Like, it's a track that at some point you say, okay, I had enough, I really want the reward that I can get right now, I will just take back my cube at the start and get my reward, and then I'm gonna start climbing it back again. And we both, Alex and me, fell in love with it. And Alex also thought this is a good way to implement the Boonlake in the game, because another really small feedback that we had, but it's nonetheless a legit feedback, is that the game is called Boonlake, but there is no Boonlake. Like, do you see a lake on this map? You don't. So it was pretty cool to be able to wove this new track into Boonlake, and that's why I'm presenting you with this one. And this should be very close to the final version of it. It's already done by Clemens, so you can see that it's very good looking and not like cars that we and Alex we just recycled. So it's really good looking. Of course, it wasn't like this at the start. At the start, it was just a track you could move on to. Now it's becoming a full lake. And also, I myself really wanted to have it, to have players choose in which direction they wanted to move. So you start over here, and you can move in either of these 2 directions. One is more about points, so it should be used in the second half of the game probably, but you can also start it right at the start, and it can be surprisingly effective depending on your overall strategy. And the second is the most important part, I would say, the easiest one, the one that you should use every time. You just move here, and when you had enough, you just drop out and get what is written over there. So how do you move here? Well, each time that you take 4 steps, but by playtesting, and again, this was a big feedback from Alex once again, it's also when you move 3 steps. So it's when you choose either of the top 3 tiles. So you always get to choose any tile if you really want. If you want to get the reward though, you have to choose one of the top 3. So this is still to help, again, players have a fast pace in the game, having incentives to move fast, but you get a bit more choice. And also moving 3 steps sometimes can do weird stuff on the map, which is interesting and makes every game different. So we really wanted to keep that feeling. As you might see, there are 2 sides on the track. One is on the ground, the other one is on the water. It's because when you actually, this is something really cool, and it's something that I came up very early in the design process, was that when you get the power, not only you need to pay a price, I mean the power is really powerful, but not only you need to pay the price, you also have to give up a canoe permanently. So you will have 1 less canoe to move around, so overall I would say less factories in the early game at least, but you take that one and you place it on the Boonlake area, and from that point on, when you move, not only you can take the dropout bonus going back at the start, but you also gain an immediate bonus when you reach some locations. Like over here, I can discard any card for 3 coins. So it's overall very interesting to sacrifice a canoe for a power and for the chance to get immediate bonus over here. It's actually very well worth it if you're able to use the power at your advantage. So it's all about powers. I will not show you all the powers. I mean, I will have to leave you with something to crave for after this video. You can tell that I'm very excited. I am actually so excited. Having a final graphic for something, it really feels like this game is coming alive. Not only you can move on the Boonlake track when you choose one of the top 3 tiles, but we actually came up with some conditions. There are 2 slots over here. Unfortunately, I don't have the new graphic for them, but basically these ones will be placed in these slots, and they will determine in the first half of the game or in the second half of the game how you can move on the Boonlake track on top of moving 4 steps. Like in the first half of the game, if you... this one is something that I had to explain to you. So let's just say this one, which is easy. Each time you develop into a new region, you can actually take a step on Boonlake. So it's actually an incentive to develop in the 4 different areas. Boonlake, Unknown, New Hope, and Southern. So in all the 4 areas, when you develop them, they all give you nudges to play your games a bit differently to be able to get these extra Boonlake steps. Also, quite a bit of the cards will give you extra Boonlake step. It's this little icon here, but again, I'm pretty sure that Clemens will come up with something way better than that. So that's it for the incentives to run. It's the Boonlake track, and we're really proud to be able to introduce Boonlake in Boonlake. Okay, one last part is, again, about these tiles here. Now, all the scoring tiles. Now, you get, really, I wanted to make them more important. And something that we found out in my playgroup was that it was funny that a lot of the time we really tried to reach the required amount of things you need to have to fulfill an objective tiles, but sometimes you were able to perform better, right? To over fulfill them. And that's a concept that we actually introduced. Basically, overachieving is now a thing. So if it's the first round and you already have a village and you choose to fulfill this tile in the interim scoring, then you can, of course, over-fulfill it. And you get something out of it. At first, if I'm not mistaken, there was like a central tile that was placed here at the beginning of the game, and you could develop / upgrade it for free if you over-fulfill. But we actually find that we really wanted the objective tiles to be the centerpiece of your overall strategy in a game. You really have to think how to keep your one as the 4th one and to fulfill all the other ones in turn. And over-fulfilling now gives you a double-edged sword. So when you over-fulfill, you actually switch your marker. So let's say you're over-fulfilling the round 1 objective. I'm here, I have already a village. So I get the point from my marker. What do I get from over-fulfilling it? I get actually another marker that is going to switch in for the round 2 marker. Let's make it easier to see. And you will not have the 2 points marker anymore. Now you have the 4 points marker, which means that the next interim scoring, you can place that marker and you're going to get 4 points instead of 2. It's already exciting, like it's double the amount of points that you can get. But it's a double-edged sword, because if you're not able to fulfill this condition for the second interim scoring, then you lose 4 points. So you have to really be careful when you want to over-fulfill. It's actually possible to over-fulfill every round, but it's very hard to do it while moving fast on the Boonlake track. So 2 different incentives to do things. We found that it was really funny, it was really interesting. So you get a 4-point marker instead of the 2-1, a 5 instead of the 3, and a 7 instead of the 4. And remember that the 7-point one can be multiplied if you place it on your own tile, right? So if you place it on your own one, I'm colorblind, so bear with me. It should be this one, the red one, I think. You get 14 points. That's a lot of points, right? Instead of the 8 that you might get, you get 14. That's actually, trust me, it's a lot. So if you can overfulfill on the third round, on the third entry in scoring, you get this tile, and for the fourth round, if you can fulfill it, you don't need to overfulfill the last one, of course, you get 14 points. It's something that is easy to understand, but it's very interesting while you're playing, what you can do with it. So we loved it, we decided to stick to it, and that was it. The last part is about variety, and once again, we added quite a bit of cards. I think it's around 50, 55-ish, something like that. There are a lot of new effects. A lot of them has something to do with the Boonlake track, but also there are new scoring cards, new power giving cards. There are some that are really strong actually, and also a new theme in the cards is scrapping cards. You can get some cards that have a value in points and have an effect, like this one is an example. I don't know if the values are the same actually, we changed them quite a bit, but with this one you can pay 4. You can keep it till the end of the game and get 4 victory points, which are actually a lot, but if you need to, you can actually scrap this card, so put it into the discard pile, so you renounce to 4 victory points, but you immediately get 2 meeples. These cards can be powerful, can be really useful. They just give you an interesting decision you have to make in the game. So economy or points. And it's just a good decision that you can make in each and every euro. I would say that that's it. It's already quite a long video. I think it's about half an hour, which is normally the most that I try to fit into one video, because I know people can get bored after like 1 hour video or something like that. I think it should be about half an hour. If you have any question, post them in the comments below. But remember that I might not be able to say everything that you want to know. So this is like a first time for me. It's the first time that I try to design something from new. It's the first time that I am cooperating with a designer like Alexander Pfister, which is of course a very interesting guy to meet and to speak with. And hopefully I made you as excited as I am, because as you can look, I mean, I'm just giggling here. I'm very, very, very excited about this game coming alive. It required more than a year in preparation. We had to work on it a lot. Hopefully it will come out this year in Essenspiel. Hopefully, I really hope so. And in general, I had a blast designing it, playtesting it, thinking about it. So hopefully you all guys will share that excitement with me. Alright, so that's it for this video. Thanks for sticking with me. See you next time. Mario's out. Bye bye.